everybody. Welcome to the program. Glad you can join us today. Multiple, many talented people are coming through today. And first of all, before I start anything, when you see the show, please subscribe, share right now. Subscribe, share, and let everybody know that we're on and we're doing really well now. So listen, today's guest. It's hard to explain a musician that has played with just about everybody except Beethoven. Leonard Bernstein, he might have played with Lenny, I don't know. We're going to ask him. So today, my guest is the one and only supreme bass player, and is Nathan East.
Thank you, Chann. It's an honor to be here.
Man, listen,
on
man,
your show.
I'm just so happy that you're here, man. You got time because I've been trying to chase you down for a while.
Oh, no,
now.
This is like, both of us are moving targets.
Yes, both of us are moving targets.
Yeah,
moving targets.
And we live
yes.
walking distance from each other.
Yes, that's the bad thing about it. We did, So you know what? In our neighborhood, man, it's like, not to put things out, but you and Al, God bless his soul.
Rest his soul. He was right around the corner.
Yeah, right around the corner from us.
But Abe Laborel,
right.
Lots of the big music community.
Yes.
Film composers and
Tom Petty.
Yeah,
Tom.
yeah.
Tom's
I mean, it's a very comfortable part of the world to live in.
And eclectic.
Yeah,
very eclectic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that word applies to you in your playing, man. You I don't even know where to start with you, Nate. It's like, Philadelphia to San Diego, I think. You guys grew up in San Diego.
Right.
And, so the bass playing, was it upright first or was it?
It was actually cello first.
It was cello first?
Yeah, cello first. And I used that in the 3 years of junior high school, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. And that really kind of got me into the bass clef, and it just got me into that range. But then, I picked up the bass when they started doing the folk masses in San Diego, and my brother, who's he's a priest, Monsignor Ray East. He has a parish in Washington D.C. now, but he got the party started by going around to churches in San Diego, and singing the liturgy, And so my brother David played guitar. So David and Ray are in the church, and then I was just tagging along with them, saying, hey, this is cool. And there was a bass on the altar. And this is a true story. The bass, nobody was playing. And why is a bass on the altar on the stand, And I said, is it cool if I, pick it up? And I picked it up, started playing. And next thing you know, I had a gig with them. I was playing in church, and it felt right. There's something very special. And at the same time, I was listening to all kinds of different music. So, that's where I think my eclectic nature comes in, just going from everything from Earth, Wind, and Fire to Wes Montgomery to, Tower of Power, Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and some, and then liturgy and church. So just we were all over the map.
I read someplace that you're on more than 2,000 recordings.
It's hard to keep up, but at least, yeah.
At least 2,000
At least 2,000. I mean, I started recording on the Barry White records in the 70s.
Right.
And I would come up from San Diego every day, and we'd go into a studio with Gene Page.
Oh, my God. Rest in peace.
Rest his soul.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and every day, we'd go in and just Barry would just record, all the ecstasy when you lay down next to me. I mean, he just was like a machine, So I would do my gig at night there, but I'd come up here, camp out in my car in front of the studio, and then go in there and record from 10 to 5 every day.
With Barry White.
With Barry White.
So was that your first major gig?
That was my first. Yeah, that was my first major gig, and then he
went from 0 to 100.
Right.
At how old?
And I was 16.
Get out.
Yeah. He heard a band that I was in called Power in San Diego, and we backed all the Stax artists up, Rufus Thomas and all these artists.
And Peoples and all.
Yeah, and he was one of the artists. And I'll never forget, he called us up to his office and he said, I want to hire the whole band to go on tour with me and the Love Unlimited Orchestra, which like we were giving each other $5 in his office, $500 a week, you share a room, And so we went around the country. When I was 16, I played the Apollo Theater, Madison Square Garden, Kennedy Center.
With Barry White.
Cobo Hall, Tuxedo, and with the Love Unlimited Orchestra. Unbelievable. Yeah.
At 16?
At 16. Yeah.
So.
Do the math.
Yeah, that's crazy. But so I'm thinking about the influences of bass, because I mean, when I think about you, and I'm thinking about Upright also, I'm thinking about, cats like Ray Brown.
Yep. Big influence.
But two people come to mind I want to ask you about, were their influences on you. James Jamerson and Jaco Pastorius.
Of course. Yes to both. I mean, big influence. First of all, James Jamerson, he is like every bass player. You can't talk to any bass player from Paul McCartney to Anthony Jackson who was not directly influenced by Jamerson. I'm sure Jaco was. And but then when Jaco came around, I remember all the guys said, "Man, have you heard this cat Jaco Pastorius?" What?
Yes.
And he just flipped everything out. Marcus, all of us wanted to be Jaco. We pulled frets out of our bay. Okay, what do I do to get that sound? And he was just like probably once in every few hundred years.
There's like always that one person.
Yeah.
That comes by. Looks like a nova. They come through and they change. They change the climate. They change.
Yeah.
Jaco has his own planet. Like Miles has his own planet. Like Prince and Michael have their own planets.
Yeah.
Jaco was that person.
He was that person. And there's hundreds of people, bass players that drink from that well. And there'll never be another guy like that. I mean, the way he thought, the way he approached it, and just very influential to all of us. At the same time, I was listening to people like Verdine White.
Yes.
And
In the Pocket with Earth, Wind & Fire.
In the Pocket with the Fire. Just nothing like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Verdine was, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
With him and Maurice and Philip and all that, Ralph and those guys. That's just a...
Same thing, yeah. They change, and they change the hearts and lives of a lot of people.
A lot of people.
A to Z, too. I mean, across the board.
Yes. Yes.
Young, old, black, white, and everything in between.
That's why they have the audience they have, still to this day.
Half a century later, and the people are still singing those songs. And those songs, I feel like, are like the fabric of our existence, is a soundtrack to our lives, a lot of them.
Speaking of songs, you writing, when did that start, you writing?
That started early on as well. I was actually studied music at UC San Diego, so composition was... I had composition classes, and but even prior to that, just I was always inspired by good music, and thought, wow, I wonder if I could do that, And so I, started writing. The first song I wrote that got me into ASCAP's called "With All My Love," and it was the title track of a Bruce Cameron who plays trumpet. He was a very popular trumpet player around the San Diego area, and he asked me to come record with him. I gave him the song and made the title song. And I remember hearing it on 105 FM up here in LA. They played it a lot,
Man.
Yeah.
And how old were you when that?
So 71. So I was about 16 again.
What is he with you at 16, bro? Oh my God.
No, I mean, I was getting the party started early.
At 16.
Yeah.
That's what the great ones get the party started early.
Well, it's just no time like the present. I mean, that was when I, moved out, flew the coop from the nest, and then started, exploring what the world was out there.
When did you know it was music, though?
Yeah, I felt it was music pretty much when I put that bass on.
That was it.
And that was it. It was just
in the church environment.
In the church environment.
So, okay,
Yeah.
Spiritually led, spiritually fed.
And we went around and played all the churches, regardless. I don't care if it was Baptist, Methodist, because my father was a Baptist, went to a Methodist church, and then we were Catholic raised, and so my brother Ray says we were kind of a Catho Bapto Metho hybrid. But everybody feels the same spirit, and so we would just be asked to play around all the churches in town, and we'd go and we'd play everywhere.
Wow.
And that was kind of the beginning of where it all got started.
So becoming the studio musician that everybody wants. When did that happen? I mean, probably during Barry White or after Barry White?
Well, Barry White was definitely, because then that's where I saw, Ray Parker and Lee Ritenour, and he'd have like 3 guitarists on there, wah-wah, and he'd walk down and just give everybody a part, okay, you play this, you play, and then he'd sit up there and play, and then all of a sudden you hear this record, this masterpiece, a hit being created right on the spot in real time, and so I just said, wow, I need some of this. And I remember reading an article about our girl Shaka,
yeah.
and she had said that Anthony Jackson was her favorite bass player,
Yeah.
and then of course he's the king.
He's fire.
Yeah, he's fire.
Yeah.
And so then I was thinking, oh, that'd be cool to be folks' favorite bass player, to like that. That was a little dream just to play with people,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just one of those things where I was reading. I used to tune the cello like a bass, listen to Ray Brown with those Quincy Jones records, and just try to copy that,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like amazing to later on in my life to meet and become friends with a lot of the people that I grew up listening to.
Mm-hmm. Folks, I got to tell you this: the East family is one of the nicest families I've ever met in my life. And everybody in the business who has worked with the East family will tell you that Nathan and family and other people in the family are just solid, good people that you like. And that's why a lot of people want to play with you, man, because of the attitude that you bring and the spirit that you bring. Is that you don't, it's like some musicians come with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And considering what you've been through and what you've seen in the travels and the music and that sort of thing, it doesn't seem that played on you at all in a negative way. And if you did, you do a really good job in hiding it.
Well, early on, I read an article that Quincy Jones had written about, he was saying, I like to work with people that aren't divas necessarily. And he said a diva can ruin your session. He says, so he wrote, I don't really care how good you are, because there's a lot of great players, but I'll take the guy that's not as good, but he's cool to get along with the team.
Yes.
That's going to help my session and help me do what I have to do as a producer. And that just stuck with me. It's like, wait a second. He'd rather have the guy that's actually gets along with everybody a lot better than the guy that can come in there and play everybody out the box, So, that kind of stuck with me is like, first thing is just, you got to be able to, because you're a team in there, Same thing with Barry White, they used to say when I first started working with them, they said, just, even if you come up with an idea, kind of make him think he came up with it. And so you're learning about how to not only just play, but you're learning how to deal with people at the same time, which is very, very important. I'll never forget my first session with Gene Page outside of Barry White, January 2nd, 1980. I remember writing everything in my diary every day. And on the session was Ray Parker Jr., Lee Ritenour, James Gatson was playing drums, Sonny Burke was on keyboard. And I was just going, all these like superstars, that I've been looking on the backs of albums and seeing their names, and they were all in there. And it was a Hertz rent-a-car jingle, And Gene Page was conducting. He wrote it, and the guys just kind of welcomed me with open arms. That was like my first session in outside of the Barry White situation.
Okay.
And so then there, you have then Lee Ritenour. He called me. These guys, it's a small group of people, and and then they kind of started telling their friends about me and started getting a lot of calls that way.
Quincy Jones, Eric Clapton, Stevie Wonder. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts.
To me, it is still.
I mean, it's gotta be, because I mean, I've been following you for years, and then the whole Fourplay thing.
Oh man, yeah, exactly. I mean,
how did that happen with you?
And
when
again,
you and Bob James and you guys hooking up?
Yeah, and Lee Ritenour and Harvey Mason.
And Harvey.
Again, when Bob asked Harvey and Lee, who he'd worked with all the time, and I'm a big fan of all those guys,
sure,
watching from afar, and each one of them on separate occasions, when he said, who should I get for bass for my album, and they both recommended me. So the first album we did together was a Bob James album called Grand Piano Canyon, and I call it the first Fourplay album because the four of us were in there, and we played a song, if you ever get a chance, called Restoration, and it sounds like Fourplay. And when we finished, Bob said, guys, would you want to put a band together? And he was an executive at Warner Brothers Records.
That's right.
And so in the studio, everybody just says that, and yeah, that'd be great. How
this
cool
was 80 something.
This was like the end. It was 1990.
Yeah,
right in 1990,
okay.
And we were doing his record,
right?
And we all left and went our separate ways. And a couple months later, he called us, guys. I mean, I could get a signed Warner Brothers Records. You ready to do a deal? Yeah, just write some songs. And so we actually got our first deal. Mo Austin, all the executives came to the studio for our first session, and Fourplay was born. And that was over 30 years ago.
My God.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, let's hold for a minute. Sergio, can you check my phone to see if Ray's here? Do I need to need my print?
If he's on the same freeway but I was on.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be a minute.
All right. Thanks, man. All right. And I'm going to continue with this. Okay. So I want to go back to songwriting. You started songwriting at the age of 16, and probably before that, probably. But you study composition. But when you write, do you hear melody, or do you hear beat, or do you hear lyrics first? How does it come for you?
It comes in all kind of different ways. Literally from when you're sleeping, you have a dream and hear a song in your head, or driving on the freeway. Back in the day, it was 81, and I was called by Hubert Laws to record his album Family, and I was literally driving down the street, and this melody came into my head. And what I did is there were no iPhones. so I went and called my answering machine at home and sang it top to bottom. It's called Wildfire. And I wrote it out and took it to him when we recorded it on that Family album.
Wow.
And it came out great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where the entire song, beginning to end, just came to my head.
You know what, man? I mean, I've been writing for a while, music for a minute, and I have these periods, Nathan, where I was like, there's nothing, and I go back to film. I do film. When I'm not writing, doing music, I'm in film.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, I'll get this thing that comes over me to tell this particular story about something. And it's usually, I write from pain.
Right.
And I ask a lot of writers about, what do you write from? And I see that I write ballads from, and a lot of things I write are mostly on the smooth and ballad tip.
Right.
And probably more of the old school, Tony Bennett, you know, that sort of thing. But I write from pain. Where do you come from?
You know, that sounds like a lot about where I come from as well. I mean, I remember one of the first songs I wrote was called Inside Pain. And it was just like, and it was just one of those things because you look around you, you don't have to look far to see people that are heartbroken and you know, we all go through that point where something happens and it was like, oh man, this is, how am I going to get through this one? You know, and it's so through song is one of the things we have that gift of music, you know, where we're able to get that out via some notes, you know, notes and chords. But then again, you know, I listen, and a lot of times, you know, just melodies will pop in your head. When we were recording with Philip Bailey and Phil Collins, Phillips said at the end of the session, he said, we still need one more song, like just undeniable single. And we went over to the piano and started playing some chords and wrote Easy Lover, 20 minutes.
That song right there, bro, it blew up.
It blew up, and it was just, it came so easily too, and it was so much fun just to, you know, have those guys. Phil Collins went home and kind of was working on some lyrics, and he came back the next day and said, hey, what do you think about these lyrics? Oh, great. And then I said, you sound great singing it too. Why don't you guys do a duet? You know, so just like that, it just came together. And we recorded the demo of what we came up with that night, you know, just to put something down so we come back and listen the next day. Came back, listen. Hey, what's wrong with this? You like? I like? You like? Okay, let's let that be the track.
And that's how Easy Lover came to be.
Yeah, and the track was what we put down as sort of like, okay, this will be our demo, and we'll come back and re-record it the next day.
That track is slamming, bro. That backbeat.
Oh man,
with
backbeat on that.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, amazing. I'll never forget it. That's 40 years ago this year.
Really?
Yeah. It's 40th anniversary of that song.
Oh my God, what a great tune.
Thank you.
What a great tune. Let's talk about the other songs you've written.
I mean, again, when we started Fourplay, we each would bring in a song, you know. So we booked 2 weeks in the studio, say, if it's your day, you bring in a song. And so I can remember having a studio in my house, and my brother Marcel and I, we went down and we wrote 101 Eastbound. And we were just down in the studio again. And I kind of like to work under pressure sometimes too, because it was my turn the next day. And I hadn't really come up with anything yet. So we went down and just put that together and brought it to the guys. And, you know, there's one thing when you write a song, but then when you have Bob James, Rittenauer, and Harvey, when they put their funk on it, it just was fantastic, you know. And to this day, I love the way that sounded. But yeah, it comes in all kinds of different sizes and shapes. You know, you never know when the inspiration's going to hit you. So, you know, I always try to stay ready. I got the phone now. I just sing ideas into it.
If you had to write 2 songs in this world, what would they be?
Wow. I think I would like to write any song that would be more of a unifier for the world, you know. Just I feel now it's just everything is division, you know. What team are you on?
Yeah.
What tribe are you in?
That's right.
And I wish there was a way to and one of my favorite songs, Change the World, that Eric Clapton did. But that's where my heart is thinking in terms of right now, you know, just something that would be more of a unifier. And
so songs like that.
Yeah. A healing, inspirational message.
Okay. Let me ask you the second part of that question. There are thousands of songs that are out. Which 2 songs you wish you had written?
Oh man. Well, there's a lot that, I mean, Stand By Me is one that I always say, oh,
all right,
man.
That's one. You got one more.
You know? And actually, what is it that I wrote the bass line for Get Lucky, but the song was, you know, written by Niall and Pharrell. And that was a song that said, man, that would have been a fun song to write, you know?
But you wrote the bass line of that.
Yeah.
That was The
Yeah.
bass line's cold.
Yeah. That was a fun
The bass line is
fun
cold.
one to record.
And
Yeah.
the song is incredibly crazy. Just blew up all over the world. All over the world.
All over the world. Driving down the streets of France, Italy. I mean, you could just it was crazy.
Matter of fact, I'm at a hotel in Paris.
Okay.
And I'm going through the lobby, and I'm here. Get lucky, lucky. I'm like, come on, man. And then it was like everywhere I went around the planet,
It was
people were singing, just like Happy,
Yeah, exactly.
what Pharrell did.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It was one of those songs that hit a chord,
Yeah.
the same vibration with everybody.
Yes.
Which was so beautiful, man. And it's always songs like that that get you happy and get you smiling and like get your feet tapping. And it had no color, it had no age to it.
Right. Right. And it just resonated
Yes.
around the globe, at that time when everything lines up perfectly. And songs like that, Happy, Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Mm-hmm.
Even another one that I absolutely love is Say a Little Prayer for You,
Man, listen. Don't get me started about Burt Bacharach and Hal David, bro.
I mean, these guys.
Come on.
Yeah.
When you think about composers, American composers,
Right.
I have three of them. Burt Bacharach and Hal Davis, one.
Right.
Duke Ellington, two.
Mm-hmm.
Third, Stevie Wonder.
Stevie, yeah. He has to be on the list, yeah.
What are your three
Well,
top composers?
Stevie is just right up there, top.
Yeah.
Gershwin.
Yes, okay. Yes, of course.
I mean, just to transcend pretty much everything, but I'm a Bacharach, Elton John. I mean, these guys write songs that are timeless, ageless. Everybody can relate to them, and I was a big fan too of Charles Stepney, all the Earth, Wind and Fire music he came up with.
Charles and Maurice were a hand in glove thing to me. It doesn't happen very often. You people,
it's one of those teams.
Burt Bacharach and Hal David,
Right.
Maurice and Charles.
Yeah.
Quincy and Michael were
collaborations. I always think to myself, these Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and it's great when you see a team stay together forever. Like Jam and Lewis, they still are together. But when you see that magic that people come up with as a result of the collaboration, the sum of the parts, it's really something very special, and I'm glad that people like Bacharach and David, they saw this and they wrote some of the greatest music of our time,
Favorite female singers that influenced you?
Wow. Gladys Knight.
Facts.
I walked into the studio and there was a 19-year-old girl that came in, and they said she just got signed with Arista Records, and she sang, and we recorded a song called Greatest Love of All, and we recorded Saving All My Love for You. Her name was Whitney Houston.
That's right.
And I remember thinking to myself, I hope they know what to do with her. And they did. But when she sang, I mean, it's hard to imagine that voice, coming out of such a young soul. And she's hard to beat. Hard to beat. Barbra Streisand was another one I had the opportunity to go in the studio with.
Those three? So Streisand, that's what I want to talk to you about. Working with Streisand, how was that?
Amazing. Top level of
it has to be
standard and professionalism. Yeah. Just amazing. And I remember my father had an album called Je m'appelle Barbara. And we used to listen, and just like the voice was coming out of heaven. Karen Carpenter.
Lord. That's another
heavenly voice.
There's something about Karen Carpenter's voice that transcended race, creed, everything. Everybody I've ever talked to, Nathan, Dionne Warwick, everybody.
Dionne, yeah.
Said that Karen Carpenter's voice, the way her delivery was, the tone of her voice,
right,
in the song she sang, the way she presented her craft, leveled everybody.
I mean, there was nobody didn't like her.
No, that's what I'm saying. Black, white,
Yeah,
nothing.
young, old,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
matter.
something about those
Hmm.
two,
Right,
Karen and her brother,
right.
and that tone, like I said, of her voice. We talk about in the chosen songs they did choose for themselves. The Carpenters,
Unbelievable.
unbelievable, bro.
Yeah. And so now you have, so many Yeba and lots of great singers now that are just that's coming Shalea
Mm.
and but these are the singers that I think everybody stands on their backs.
Mm-hmm.
Dion,
Yes,
where people they just open their mouth, you know who that
you know
is,
who they are.
and it penetrates your heart.
Mm-hmm. Last question. I want to talk to you just briefly about your own solo albums and the last one you put out, and what's coming on next for you as a solo artist. I know you're playing with your son. Your son Noah is a monster on keyboards, and so daddy and son are traveling together
Right. Yeah.
around the planet
And
playing.
it's we just came back from Baden-Baden, Germany, had the best time ever.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just we're kind of getting the party started too because I just love his respect for space and his musicianship. He's turned into my favorite musician.
Really,
Yeah,
your son is that must be
which is
daddy proud.
awe-inspiring me.
Yeah.
Inspiring. I just like I just my heart just skips a beat when I think about it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
we're having the best time, and now he's writing too, and he's just coming up with all the goods. I mean, it's amazing because as a bass player, when I play with, and I have some players that I play with, Greg Fillinganes, we're like brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear around corners, you could imagine but like when I'm playing with Noah, like the chord that I'm imagining in my head that I want to hear, he plays. So it's like it's just a very special feeling,
Mm-hmm.
very special.
Yeah. So solo for
But
you.
so solo career. So I got a couple albums under my belt that we did at Yamaha Entertainment Group,
Yes.
and I mean I couldn't be more proud of these records, and I had a lot of fun people join me, Mike McDonald, Clapton,
Yes.
some Stevie Wonder,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Just
so
the small
just a couple of
small people. Yes.
exactly. And so, Bob James wrote something for me for my first. So it's just one of those things where I'm gathering some new material, but right now focusing on our father son project, and we're about to release an album, Noah and I. So
Okay.
that's my primary focus now, and we're having so much fun.
Yeah. Nathan East, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so
Man,
much, Chann.
Man.
Neighbor.
Yes, neighbor. Yes, neighbor. I can't tell you how proud I am to know you as a human being and as a father, a husband, and one of the best musicians I've ever heard on the planet, man. It's just I just adore who you are and what you've done, especially
Thank you.
as a black man, as a brother in this business. You have transcended so much, and you left leaving a real good impression on a whole lot of people who look like you and I.
It's a little bit more of a responsibility and a weight for us to represent, because what happens too is sometimes, when I hear somebody took a shot and killed such and such, and I always say, oh, it's not a black person, because for whatever reason, like when we do something, then the whole race gets tagged with it.
That's right. That's right.
So like whatever we do, be it good or be it bad, it's sort of like you're speaking for a whole race of people, and it's a big responsibility to have to come up with that. And so first and foremost, I'm grateful that I had parents that cared, and they stayed together till death do you part. They both watching from heaven, but they did their best to try to instill in us, responsibility and good values. And those are things, the most important things in life, family. And so that's one thing I think in the Black community we really need to focus on family. You know, because
Agreed.
it's like
Agreed.
it's like where's your daddy?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, and you know it's too easy to leave, but you got to stay there and work it out. You
Mm-hmm.
know, otherwise we're going to stay in the same zone. And so that's really one of my missions is uh, is to be a good parent, be a good family man, and just to be a good example to people that are like me when I was 16, looking up. Okay, who do I? Okay, the Quincy, all these people that I was looking up to as
Mm-hmm.
examples and role models,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, you never know who's looking either.
Yes.
And so, and I don't have to go far to, you know, because both of my kids are looking up, okay, what's he doing? How's
Yeah.
he handling
Yeah.
this? You know,
Yeah.
and we don't have any control over what's going to happen. We don't have control over the weather. We don't have control over the traffic conditions, but we have control over how we react, how we respond, and how we deal with all that. And for me, that's one of the most fun things I love about life and just working all that out.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on this wonderful program with Nathan East, one of my favorite musicians on the planet. Until next time, be well and stay blessed.